I do not main mag, but I enjoy playing her by a lot. She may be confusing to play at first, but once you know everything there is to know about this frame, you will definitely agree that she is one of the best, and if not, the best in dealing with endgame enemies. The best way to fully understand Mag is by knowing every nitty-gritty detail of her abilities. So, let's begin with her first ability, Pull. This ability is pretty straightforward on what it does. It offers good crowd control and moderate damage, and its energy cost is fairly cheap that you can use this ability whenever you need it. In addition, enemies that are killed by this ability will have a chance to drop energy orbs. However, the damage is not that great against higher level enemies. It can be your killer ability at low levels, but it will only serve as your backup CC ability at higher level content. One neat trick in using Pull is by casting it while you are in midair. This way, enemies will be ragdolled for several seconds, and will often take another couple of seconds to get up, giving you enough time to react. The best part is, this ability has no cooldown and you can yank enemies at will any time you want. Just remember, the yank effect is affected by ability strength, and if you want some dumb ragdoll fun, then you must have at least 180 and above power strength on your mag build. Her second ability is called Magnetize, and this is Mag's most popular ability. However, there are some misconceptions about this ability that leads to the wrong usage. First off, Magnetize is not the same as a bullet attractor. While it's close to being one, it probably has more usage than that, and it's extremely powerful to be compared to a mere bullet attractor. The thing about Magnetize is that it will draw nearby enemies that are outside the bubble towards the magnetized target, and then the bubble is attached to the target enemy and moves with them. Also, Magnetize increases damage against the target by a multiplier which is affected by ability strength. In addition, all projectiles that pass through the magnetized bubble will be stopped and redirected to the center of the bubble. If they impact an enemy, they will deal damage to that enemy, including any location hit modifiers, while any active shards coming from your Polarize ability within range of the bubble will be drawn to its center and will be added to its total damage. These shards will not be consumed and can be used by multiple magnetized bubbles so long as their duration has not expired. The raw damage of projectiles that impact the magnetized bubble will be added to the damage total for the magnetized bubble. 25% of this damage will be dealt with all enemies within the bubble every half second as magnetic damage, and then, every time this damage ticks, the base damage of the tick is added to the damage dealt by Magnetize when it detonates, and if the target dies with Magnetize active, the bubble will detonate when its duration expires, dealing damage plus any bonus damage from ticks as blast damage within a specified range. But that's not all there is to know about Magnetize. You should also know that critical hits and multi-shot from hits-can weapons aren't taken into account when adding damage to the bubble. The shots will still be redirected, but Magnetize will only add the raw damage of one bullet to the absorbed damage. Projectile weapons with multi-shot don't have this restriction, however. Examples are the Cyan Lex and Maraditron. Additionally, only the projectile's damage is added. This means that weapons like the Toradora Gris that deal most of their damage from an area of effect, rather than direct impact, won't have that damage added to Magnetize. Only projectiles that impact the bubble and Polarize shards add tick damage. On top of all of those, projectiles with punch through will continue to orbit the center of the bubble and continue to hit enemies until they either disappear, fail to penetrate something, or Magnetize ends. This doesn't benefit Magnetize's tick damage, but it can still be useful to take into account. Her next two abilities may not be as popular as her Magnetize ability, but mind you, these two are one of the best when it comes to stripping enemy armors in the game. Mag's fourth ability may be considered as a good way to just crowd control and give survivability, but when you equip the Fracturing Crush Augment, it becomes one of the most reliable abilities when it comes to stripping armors. The max armor that Fracturing Crush can strip is 80%, and when you pair it with Polarize, you can totally strip enemy armors no matter how high their levels are. Polarize does not only steal shields from enemies, but it also strips armors from enemies with armors. In fact, the three biggest uses of Polarize are completely murdering groups of Corpus, healing allies and objectives, and following up an augmented crush to strip remaining armor from enemies at high levels, or just completely stripping them by itself at low levels. Adding damage to Magnetize, while very nice, is often a secondary or tertiary effect of any of the other uses. With my current mag setup, I can totally strip enemy armors with 2 casts of Fracturing Crush, and then following it up with Polarize. But honestly, you really don't need to totally strip enemy armors. Just lowering their armors is enough, as remember, you have your Magnetize ability to apply the finishing touches. By the way, Polarize has this augment called Counterpulse, which allows you to jams enemy weapons and disables robotic enemies for a set duration. It's really a good form of crowd control and it's best used in solo plays. Now, this is the usual build I use for mag during endgame plays like long endurance runs. It's a balanced build of power, strength, duration and range, and it can fully maximize the potential of all mag's abilities. Some may like shorter duration for their Magnetize, to take advantage of the explosion damage, but I prefer to have a longer duration since I am also using Polarize more often. Polarize spread is somehow affected by duration, that is why I need some to affect a lot of enemies. I still can detonate my Magnetize at will though, as I have the Magnetized discharge augment, but that's not the only use of this augment, as it can also crowd control enemies that are within the range of the Magnetize bubble. I also have Fracturing Crush to strip enemy armors, and then Redirection so I can have a bit of survivability. Works well with my fourth ability and does give me a lot of shields. Primed Flow and Streamline are basically for energy efficiency. My mag build is a caster build, so I really need a lot of energy, and as well as efficiency in casting my abilities. I did choose Growing Power to get the 80% armor strip capability of Fracturing Crush, as well as increase the damage of my other abilities, especially Magnetize. And last but not the least, Vigilante Pursuit for enemy radar. It's basically a personal preference, but I wish you try it as it will definitely be useful in terms of enemy pathing, especially when you are doing solo long endurance runs. So that's how I play mag at endgame levels. I hope after seeing this video, you have gained a lot of knowledge about this awesome frame. I really suggest you try out my build, as it's really fun, especially against endgame levels like long survival runs. But before you do, don't forget to give this video a like, and subscribe if you are new to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.